All right, everyone, we will get started. Good afternoon. I am Judge Mincy. We're going to begin our Fulton County State Court Expedited Accusations calendar. This is a calendar for cases in which individuals have recently been arrested and charged with certain misdemeanor offenses. Soon after their arrest, the Fulton County Solicitor General's office has already accused these cases of the offenses brought against them, and the case has been bound over to the Fulton County State Court. Nevertheless, this will usually be the defendant's initial appearance before a state court judge, so we are able to address several matters, including bond, possible arraignment, and a possible plea offer if one has been made by the state at this juncture. The reset date for our SAP review will be October the 1st, 2024. October the 1st, 2024. I want to begin by reminding everyone and advising you that this whole entire proceeding is being recorded as well as live streamed on YouTube. So govern yourselves accordingly. I want to also remind the defendants that you do have certain constitutional rights. You have a right to have representation at this juncture in your case. You should know who your attorneys are by now and have spoken to them. I want to also remind the defendants that you do have a right to remain silent. Remember that anything that you state about the facts, the circumstances, and the occurrences of your case can and will be held against you. The state is here, they're listening, and they're taking notes. So follow the lead of your attorney. All right, deputies, who do we have first?
Good afternoon, Judge Mincy. Quick question.
Yes.
Do we have a Spanish interpreter here?
I don't see one yet. Ms. Strong?
I'll ask Mr. Jordan. Judge, just
It-
give me a moment.
Okay, we'll get one.
I'm sorry, what position is this that needs a Spanish interpreter?
Hey,
Oh, the, Espinosa, co-defendant, I mean, the other person,
I believe it's Menendez.
Menez, number 13,
Yeah,
okay.
Not sure how to pronounce Nessus.
Meneses is 13 or something like that.
yeah.
Something like Meneses, but his co-defendant, I don't know if the co-defendant needs an interpreter or not, but I was told that he does, so I haven't spoken to him yet. No,
And
the co
who's the co-defendant?
Espinosa Ruiz, Denise Espinosa Ruiz.
What position is that?
Oh, she's an E, so she's only number 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like, I don't know, 5. I don't have a calendar.
And you
It's
still
position number
interviewing?
6, Your Honor.
And position number 6, okay. You all are still interviewing?
I only have one person left to talk to other than the interpretation case. The ACDC's been pretty tied up with other stuff, so I have a Miss Erica Stewart, who's the co-defendant of Ira Jones, to speak to.
All right, are we making that happen?
They're going to own me.
Your Honor, could I ask Mr. McLean a question?
Sure.
Mike, they've installed all the new printers here, and I don't have a calendar or anything. Or can you get anything?
I'll try to print it.
And then they've got 3 late interview. I've got one more person to interview. Sorry, Your Honor, I've got one more person to interview at ACDC. So I'm working on that now. So, but I don't have a calendar either. So.
Keith, from the looks of your ceiling, it looks like you're in the same building as me. So I'm gonna, if I can get a calendar, I'll bring you a copy.
Okay, or if anybody else, well, no, we can't forward it to us because our printer still won't work. So yeah. Okay.
If you can if you want to put your personal email in the chat to Ms. Strong, she can maybe do that because, by the time you all get one, it might be too late, but she can forward it to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yeah, then we can work on it. Yeah, after the fact. Okay.
Because I know it's hard to do it without a calendar.
Yes, it is.
Keith, my printer's working upstairs here, so I can bring it to you if I can get a copy. I'm going to check.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah, do it fast because they're replacing the computers as we speak. So,
Okay, y'all, this is gonna be position number 14, Miss.
Виктория Владимировна Овсянникова.
Your Honor, that's my case. Wondering if we could have a breakout. Who's got this one, Mr. Cook or Mr. McLean?
McLean,
B. McLean.
I have spoken to her.
you have or have not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just seeing if you're getting your printer going to print a calendar.
If I can get my my Outlook back up, I'll see if I can print one out. We're only a few feet away, but apparently there's a rolling roadblock on these printers. We can do a breakout. I'm fine with that if y'all want to on Miss Veronica or
Victoria,
Victoria Ovsyannikova.
all right, Miss Strong, put us in a breakout, please.
Ms. Bridgewater today, Judge. I'm the litigation manager.
Oh, where is she?
It says state court, but she'll put you all in a breakout room in just a moment.
Just
Oh.
one moment. I'm here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was you.
That's
Okay.
What position is this we're taking into the breakout?
14,
14. Okay, and who else going in that breakout?
state. Who's your partner? ASG, Daciano, Daciano,
And Mr. McLean?
Yes.
McLean.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Did it print, McLean?
Well, it's opened up. Somebody sent me a calendar, so I do have it now. Now I'm hitting print. Usually there's
Okay.
about a delay before it gets to the printer, maybe 5. I was experiencing a delay this morning of up to 10 minutes, but hopefully in 5 minutes it'll be across the hall from me. You would think it would be by the speed of electricity.
All right, pretrial. Good afternoon. This is 24 CR 006484D. This defendant is charged with 2 counts of battery family violence, 1 count of simple battery family violence. What do you have? Pretrial?
This is the defendant's 14th arrest. The last arrest was in 2022 for criminal damage to property in the second degree and willful obstruction. That case was dismissed. There's a 2006 misdemeanor conviction for 2 counts of criminal trespass, 2005 arrest for simple battery in Fulton County, which appeared to be dismissed, 2006 arrest for forgery in the first degree, and possession of a controlled substance. And I'm not sure if that was dead docketed or if that's a felony conviction. A 2009 misdemeanor conviction for DUI and willful obstruction. A 2012 arrest for simple battery in Fulton County, which was dismissed. A 2014 arrest for aggravated assault, family violence, which also appeared to be dismissed. The defendant meets the criteria for level 2, with the exception to the bail restricted charges.
All right, thank you.
And Your Honor, the criminal history for this young woman does include a felony level conviction for forgery and drugs from 2006 here in Fulton County, shoplifting convictions, multiple arrests for disorderly battery, as well as DUI. The aggravated assault, family violence was dead docketed after her participation in a treatment program in the Superior Court here. That is against the same victims here in front of you, her parents. In this case, this incident occurred on the 15th, so yesterday of September. Police were called to 115 Brook Hollow Trace. That's the same location where this young woman struck her mother over the head with a bottle in 2014. On the scene, police saw one of the victims, the defendant's dad, holding her down until police arrived. Dad was seen to have visible injuries. Mother had been assaulted. They reported that during an argument, after the defendant in front of you had been drinking, she attacked her mom, and dad intervened and they called 911. This is not the first incident of violence, Your Honor. We've been in contact with the victims. Father had visible injuries, scratches to his face and bruising on his face. It appears that mom now has visible injuries as well. They report a diagnosis and medication refusal. We would be asking for a $4,000 surety, Your Honor. Absolutely no contact with the victims. Their names are Natalia and Mark, and I'll spell the last name for you. It's
Uh-oh. No, he just got booted out.
I'm not sure where we left off.
I think you had recommended a 4,000 surety.
Yeah, the victims in this case are her parents, Mark, M-A-R-K, and Natalia, N-A-T-A-L-I-A. Their last name is Bykovsky, and that's spelled B-Y-K-H-O-V-S-K-Y. So we're asking for a stay away from the location, no contact whatsoever, BHET and a social worker visit. That location again is 115 Brook Hollow Trace. Thank you. And we have been in touch with the victims. I do not believe they've joined us on Zoom, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. and Miss Bykovsky. Mr. or Mrs. Bykovsky. All right, go ahead, PD McLean. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry. I had some bad information before. I'll do some research and see about some records at various places and be able to help better for the client, have our office do so. The SAP, I believe, is on October the 1st, did we say?
Yes.
So we'd ask the court to consider a reasonable bond as low as possible with knowledge of the realities of the situation.
All right, I'm gonna order the $4,000 surety bond with 1,500 on each of the battery, family violence, and 1,000 on the simple. And that'll be 4,000 surety. I'm going to order BHET and a visit from the social worker. I'm gonna order a stay away from the 115 Brook Hollow Trace. No further contact with her parents. Mother and father, Mark and Natalia Burkowski. I'm going to order no drugs, no unprescribed medication, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And that's all I order at this time.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 1, Mr. Nicholas Ballinger.
Okay. This is 24 CR 006489E, Nicholas Ballinger, charged with 2 counts of disorderly conduct, pretrial.
This is the defendant's first arrest. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 1, and if given pretrial, we would need a co-signer.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 15th, 2024. Officers responded to 510 Waite Road in reference to a domestic dispute. The victim in this case is Robert Ballinger. He's the defendant's father. He advised that he and his son were in an argument over chores. The defendant got in his face, was calling him names and saying things like, "Let's effing fight." The victim believed he was about to be attacked and struck him. The parties engaged in mutual combat at that point. However, the officer determined that the father was acting in self-defense and he was not charged with a crime. In speaking with the family members that were also witnesses to this event, Your Honor, it seems that the defendant was arrested because he was very boisterous and loud and cursing and yelling with the officers there and was not cooperating. We have been in touch with mom and dad. Dad states that everyone lives together at the incident location. He confirmed the events in the warrant. He stated nothing like this has ever happened before, and he wants the defendant to return home, and he's not in fear. We've also spoken to mom, who states that she doesn't believe the defendant should have been arrested and that the victim was actually the one who struck the son, and she would like the defendant to return home as well, Your Honor. The state's requesting a signature bond through the jail. No further violent contact with Mr. Ballinger, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And I believe I saw Ballinger on the line, Your Honor, if you could sound for Mr. Ballinger.
All right, Mr. Ballinger,
Yes, ma'am.
do you wish to address the court today, yes or no?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Oh, okay, let me swear you in first. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I do want to remind you, this is a bond hearing. This is not the trial. I'm not here to hear all the evidence and the history in the case, just enough for me to make a bond decision on whether he obviously will come back to court and some other factors that I'll weigh on bond. I have people that want to come and tell me all the facts and what happened. That's not what I'm here for today. Okay?
Understood.
So I'm going to limit you if you get too far into that. So let me ask you 2 things first. Are you in fear of your son, Nicholas Ballinger?
No, ma'am, not at all.
And do you want to have any further contact with your son?
Every day.
How old is he?
17.
Is he still in high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Senior,
Junior?
junior? Okay. And so he lives with you at your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Would he have anywhere else to go stay if I decided that?
Um, I'm not sure. I'm hoping that that decision wouldn't have to be made.
Okay. And you're willing to co-sign for his bond?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there a mother in the home as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Other children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Any cross-examination by the state or the public defender?
No, Your Honor.
I just had one question. I'm not sure about the policy. When I talked to my client, he said his mother Holly Ballinger would also be willing to sign. I'm not sure what the rule is on the alleged victim co-signing on the bond. Miss Desiano may know more about that than I do, but
Right. So, Dad, your first name is what?
Robert?
Right. And you are the victim in the case, so it may be better for the mother to sign as opposed to you. Okay.
If that's your recommendation, yes.
Okay.
I'm
All
not
right.
sure what the jail policy is though. Your
Well,
Honor,
go
Yeah.
ahead.
I'm sorry. No, we would have no objection to the state's recommendation.
All right. So the state's recommending SOB jail. I will make that a $3,000 signature bond through through the jail, 1,500 on each count. And there needs to obviously be a cosigner. I was thinking about sending it through pretrial, but I will not. But I am going to suggest that Mr. Ballinger, you get some counseling and maybe some anger management courses on your own. I usually order them when I go through the pretrial services, and they're free through them. And hopefully you have the means to do that and start doing that, so that there can be some help for the family or for your son with whatever may be going on at this time. And hopefully you will do that. But I'm going to order that he have no further violent contact with you. And if he does, he'll be back here in jail. I'm going to also order that he not have any drugs, unprescribed medication, weapons, guns, or anything like that while on bond. And I'll let him come back home, but I'm not 100% comfortable with it. But if there's nowhere else, an aunt or cousin or somewhere that he can go stay, let's give him a try and see. There really has not been the ample cooling down period that I like to see. So I'm going to let Nicholas go back home as long as this is cooled down and there won't be any more incidents, and get some counseling and family counseling or help for whatever caused this incident to happen. All right. And then I'm going to also order that he go to school. He's in school, so he needs to go to school. I'm going to also order a curfew, which is what I normally do. Does he work or anything?
Yes, ma'am.
He does. What are his hours, or what time is he usually home?
Usually home by 10:30.
Okay, so I'm going to order a curfew. And the curfew will be from 11 p.m. To 6:30 a.m. Would that encompass getting to school or work?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
With that 6:30 a.m., is that
Yeah,
early enough for him to get up and get out to school and or work after school?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
but from 11 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., he needs to be at the house, not
Understood.
out in the street. And if, he gets off work at 10:30, come straight home. So those are the conditions of his bond.
Understood.
All right, thank you. Good luck to you all.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. And he did, yeah, say, they
I-
do parental co-signers through the jail?
I don't know. I don't know if they let him sign himself out at 17 through the jail.
Or I didn't know that you had to have one, so I'm just making sure, going through the jail. Had to have a
Deputy,
co-signer, I'm just making sure.
Deputy Norris?
I have no idea about signing yourself out through the jail. I know pretrial.
Right, that's the first time I've heard that, so that's why I just wanted to make
Yeah, I've
sure.
never heard of that, so.
Yes. Mr. Ballinger?
The lady I talked to this morning indicated that he could sign himself out.
Okay. I'm gonna trust him and see what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 2, Mr. Nigel Cheadle.
Okay, 24 CR 006490A. He's charged with 1 count of simple assault, family violence, a 2nd count of simple battery. Pretrial.
This is the defendant's 5th arrest. The last arrest was in 2022 for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And the defendant did plead nolo to that, and it was a misdemeanor reduced to reckless conduct with a firearm, and that was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A 2020 felony conviction for possession with intent to distribute and use of a firearm while committing a felony. And the defendant does meet the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 14th, 2024. Officers responded to 8085 Adair Lane, apartment 609, regarding a domestic dispute. There are 2 victims in this case, Your Honor. The first victim lives with the defendant at the incident location, Corey Standifer. She advised that she and the defendant got into an argument because she told him that her cousin, Miss Williams, will be moving in with them to escape a bad situation. The defendant got upset. He punched a hole in the wall. At some point, the second victim shows up. That's the cousin, Brianna Williams. She shows up, and the defendant pushed her out of the apartment and closed the door on her. It's the basis for the simple battery. The defendant then went inside and grabbed a knife, and the cousin, who was outside because she'd been forced out of the apartment, heard Miss Standifer yell, "He's got a knife," and she called 911. Standifer told the police that the defendant did not use the knife. He only held it down by his side while they were arguing. However, that she did feel threatened because she did not know why he was holding the knife or what he was going to do with it. And at some point, she was able to calm him down, and the defendant did put down the knife. Your Honor, we've been in touch with both of the victims today. Ms. Standifer states that these parties lived together at the incident location. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states that the defendant has been physically aggressive towards her in the past, but has never physically been violent with her. She states she's not in fear and would like to have contact and is okay with him returning to their residence. We've been in touch with Miss Williams as well, who at this point intends to continue living at the incident location. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states that she doesn't have any concerns for her safety and is okay with no violent contact. Your Honor, we have reviewed the jail calls in this case, and they're concerning. The defendant is on the jail calls telling Ms. Standifer that this can't be on his criminal record, that he needs this off her record, that she needs to, quote, make shit happen. She's asking, what do I need to do? What do I need to say? He says, just tell them I lost my temper. Don't tell them what I did. And then says, we shouldn't be talking about this on the phone. I'll talk to you about it later. And hangs up. So there's certainly a concern from the state's perspective about this defendant intimidating the witnesses in this case, and certainly with him being in the same place as Miss Williams, who he clearly didn't want staying at his apartment. So we would ask for a $1,000 surety bond on each count, no further contact with either victim, a stay away from that incident location, to take and complete an anger management course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And Your Honor, I'm not sure if both victims on, but I believe Miss Corey Standifer is on the line.
What was the name of the second victim?
Brianna Williams. Brianna, maybe.
Mhm. They were all roommates?
Your Honor, Miss Standifer and the defendant live together, and it's my understanding now that Miss Williams is moving in with them. This incident happened yesterday, 2 days ago, and at that point, she was coming to the apartment to move in, and we've spoken with her today, and she states that she plans on staying at that residence with Miss Standifer.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ms. Standifer, you're on the line.
Yes, I am.
Do you wish to address the court today?
Yes, I do.
All right, let me swear you in. Raise your right hand for me. Do you affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay. Put your hand down for me. Are you in fear of Mr. Cheadle?
No, I'm not.
Okay, do you want to have any further contact with Mr. Cheadle?
I don't, but his belongings are here. So, I would assume we would have to figure that out, but I'm not in fear of him from being around here.
Okay, so whose name is is this an apartment or a house?
This is an apartment.
Whose name is on the lease?
Both of our names.
Okay. And you intend to occupy, as the victim intend to occupy the apartment?
Yes, she's in the second bedroom.
I'm sorry,
I said yes. Are you referring to Brianna?
talking about you.
Oh, yes. I intend to occupy the apartment, yes.
Okay. All right, I don't have any other questions. State.
Miss Standifer, is Miss Williams moved in with you at this point?
Yes, she has.
Your Honor, that's all the questions I have.
Okay. PD Cook.
Yes, from it sounded a bit that the witness gave two different answers on whether she wanted him to be there or not, but I'll leave that up to the court. My client is 29 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area for about a year. He's a barber. He does not make much money. It's a fairly modest income. Just looking at what he would like to do or asked to do. At this point, he does have somewhere else to go. If that was the judgment of the court, he would want an escort, one-time law enforcement escort to gather his belongings. And we would be seeking, well, I don't think he would actually be eligible for the signature bond. So we would be seeking a surety bond at as low a rate as low a number as possible, given his relatively modest income.
Okay. I'm going to order a $3,000 surety bond, $1,500 on each charge. Well, let me change that. 2,000 on the simple battery, 1,000 on the simple assault. I'm going to order that he stay away from the incident location, or stay away from Miss Corey Standifer, and stay away from Miss Brianna Williams, where they may live or work. Do not go within 200 yards of each of them. No contact whatsoever by third parties. Needs to stay away from that location and have no further contact with the two of them. So he needs to find somewhere else to live while on bond. He will be able to request a one-time law enforcement escort to return to the location to retrieve his personal items. Mr. Cheadle, do not go back by yourself. You must have a law enforcement escort to go back to the property to get your items. No drugs, alcohol, unprescribed medication, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I think that's going to be it. Anything else, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that's the order of the court. And Mr. Ballinger, it's up to you. We do have open court, but if you do want to leave, you are free to leave. I don't know if I said that. Can't hear you, you're on mute.
I didn't know if you were talking to me or not.
I was saying
Oh.
you are free to go unless you just wanted to stay. But you are free to go since we're done with your, done with the case.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too. What do we have next, deputies?
Next, we're gonna go to position number 4, Mr. Alberto Cortez.
24 CR 0064928 Alberto Cortez. Charge of 1 count of battery, family violence, a 2nd count of simple battery. Pretrial.
This is the defendant's 3rd arrest. The last arrest was in 2014 for a DUI, and the defendant was convicted of the DUI. The defendant meets the criteria for level 1. Nothing further.
All right.
Your
State.
Honor, this incident took place on September 15th, 2024 at 478 Kingsport Lane in Alpharetta. The first victim in this case, her name is Linda Duncan. She's married to the defendant. She states that her husband was intoxicated. He wouldn't stop breaking things and throwing things. They started arguing, and then he grabbed her by the shirt collar very forcefully, and she fell to her knees, and her son, who's the second victim, Seneca Fernandez, intervened and had to get the defendant off of her. Miss Duncan had a red mark on her chest from where she was grabbed by her collar. The son, Mr. Fernandez, corroborated Miss Duncan's recollection of what happened and also stated that the defendant pushed him as well. We've been in touch with Miss Duncan today. She states that these parties are married and live together at the incident location. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She states this is not the first time that this has happened, but this is the first time that the police have been called. She states that she's in fear for her safety because she's not sure what the defendant will do now that he's been arrested. She wants no contact and would like for him to stay away from the residence. And she states that the defendant will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings, and she intends to file for a TPO. And we have not been in touch with Mr. Fernandez. He is 18, Your Honor, but he is still in high school. We would be asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with either victim, a stay away from the incident location, anger awareness courses, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Duncan, thank you.
Ms. Duncan. Miss Duncan. And so Miss Duncan is who again to the defendant?
Wife.
And
then
how old?
Miss Duncan has a son who is not the defendant's son. It's his stepson who's 18 and he's still in high school.
Oh, you confused me because it seemed like I thought you said the defendant was 18.
I'm sorry. No, Your Honor. The victim, the second victim is 18.
Second victim. Okay. I was confused. All right. And what's the second victim's name?
Seneca Fernandez.
Seneca?
Yes. Fernandez.
All right. PD Cook, whose case? You're muted.
That's Mr. McLean's case, Your Honor.
Okay. Where'd he go? I see the interpreters on the line, so let's get started with those interviews as well as best we can. Mr. McLean, you're up, and the interpreters here as well.
Very good, Your Honor. Tell Mr. Cook, the hard copy's on the way by messenger.
Okay, thank you. It's ready, fire, aim on setting up the printers, but okay, thank you.
Who do we have?
Position 4, Alberto Cortez.
Very good. I questioned him and about his English. English sounds good. I felt pretty confident that he was correct and I'm correct that he does not need an interpreter.
Your Honor, ACDC do need interpreter for Senora Espinoza.
Okay. All right, Mr. McLean, I don't know if you heard the state's recommendation.
No, Your Honor, did not.
State recommended SOB through pretrial.
For Mr. Alberto Cortez,
Yes.
we agree.
Okay. All right, I will grant a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 2,000 on the battery, 1,000 on the simple battery. Level 1. I will order that he have no further contact with both victims, the wife and the stepson. He's to find somewhere else to go stay in the meantime. Stay away from that 4718, I think it was Court Lane, something like that, whatever the incident location is. No drugs, unprescribed medication, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I'm going to order 2 days of anger awareness course through pretrial.
Yes, Your Honor, that's 478 Kings Point Lane in Alpharetta.
Okay, Kings Point, okay. All right, that should be it. Next,
Who should we put in the breakout room?
what breakout room?
Y'all, courtroom 1 is gonna log on with the breakout.
Okay.
Oh, for the interpreter, I'm sorry.
That's correct. Just give them another minute or so.
Okay,
We're gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna
Is-
continue with Mr. Cook's cases. And this is gonna be
Do
position
we have a
number 5.
conflict attorney on?
It's gonna be position number 5, Mr. Dash.
Your Honor, do we have a conflict attorney on? So we have a couple dual arrest cases.
We don't. I think Mr. Jordan reached out to Ms. McLeod, assuming that we're waiting for a response, but we do know we need them.
okay. All right, 24 CR 006493E Dashon Dash. Charged with 1 count of driving, fleeing, or attempting to elude police, 2nd count of reckless driving, 3rd count criminal trespass and damage to property, pretrial.
This is the defendant's first arrest, no prior history, and the defendant meets the criteria for level 1.
Okay. State.
Your Honor, this incident took place September 15th, 2024. Officers observed a gray Honda Civic run a red light at the intersection of MLK Junior Drive Southwest and MLK Junior Drive Northwest. The officers attempted to make a traffic stop, but the vehicle did not stop. It turned down a residential area, traveling at a high rate of speed. He ran a stop sign at the intersection of Sunset Avenue in Magnolia. The officers were about to abandon the chase because it wasn't worth the safety of the public with it being a traffic violation. However, right before they did so, they observed the vehicle crash into the corner of a house located at 173 Sunset Avenue. The defendant then got out of the car and started running, and he was eventually apprehended a couple blocks over on Foundry Street. The state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, Your Honor. I believe it has to go through pretrial because of the fleeing charge pursuant to SB 63, Your Honor. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol allowed on bond.
And I forgot there were 2 other charges. All right, I'm back. What I was saying was there were 5 charges, and I think I only read 3. ASG, Daciano. So the other 2 were failure to obey a stop sign and failure to obey a traffic light. I just want to make sure I was complete on that there were 5 charges and not 3. But you all are still recommended SOB pretrial, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, state. I'm sorry, PD.
Oh, Your Honor, we don't have any objection to the state's recommendation.
All right. So that's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1,000 on each of the charges. And with that signature bond through pretrial be level 1. No drugs, unprescribed medication, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. There's no license charge. I was getting ready to say no driving without a valid license, but that is not one of the charges. Of course, reckless or fleeing. But anyway, that's all I'll order at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 7. Mr. Fahy.
Okay.
Mr. Foy, I'm sorry.
Is that the one that needs the interpreter that we're waiting to interview?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
No.
7. I'm sorry, wrong case. 7. All right, 24 CR 006495G. Llewellyn Michael Fahy or Fahy, not sure I pronounced it. Last
Foy.
name.
Foy, one syllable, Foy.
Foy. Foy. All right. Pretrial.
23rd arrest. Last arrest was in 2018 for probation violation, 4 felony convictions outside of the 10-year period that were drug related. One of which was for trafficking drugs, and it appears that the defendant is currently serving a 20-year sentence on probation for that case. A 91 arrest for 3rd-degree assault. No disposition was listed, and that was out of the Virgin Islands. A 96 arrest for aggravated assault and battery, domestic violence, which appeared to be dismissed in the Virgin Islands as well. 97 conviction for assault, 3rd degree, and reckless endangerments. 2003 arrest for simple battery in Gwinnett, which was no prize. 2004 misdemeanor conviction for simple battery in Gwinnett. 2006 misdemeanor conviction for battery family violence in Rockdale. 2014 arrest for battery family violence in Fulton County, which appeared to be no prize, as well as a 2017 arrest for battery family violence in DeKalb County, which appeared to be no prize. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3 with the exception to the bail restricted charges.
Okay.
Your Honor, this incident took place August 12th, 2024. Officers were dispatched to 6866 Smoke Road, Atlanta, regarding a dispute. The victim in this case is Marquita English. She stated that her boyfriend picked her up from her job. The parties started arguing because the defendant was accusing her of liking someone at her job. When they arrived to the victim's house, the defendant punched her in the face, threw her belongings out of the car, and dragged her out of the vehicle. The victim had a swollen eyebrow and drag marks to her clothing. Your Honor, these folks have a history together. They've never lived together because the defendant is married to someone else. However, there are 2 prior cases involving the same victim, Judge. Both cases, one's in Fulton County, it's 15 CR 005732, was dismissed. And then there was also a case in DeKalb County. The victim states that she and the defendant are not in a relationship. They don't live together. They don't have children. She states that the incident location is her residence. She stated that she was a couple weeks pregnant at the time of this incident. The defendant was aware of that. She's confirmed the events in the warrant. She states this is not the first time the defendant's been violent toward her. There's that previous case that I just mentioned. And then there's also a case in DeKalb that she believes happened around 2016. She's had a few conversations with the defendant since this incident, and she states they were not pleasant. She wants no contact and would like for him to stay away from her residence. Your Honor, the state's concern here is obviously there's multiple cases involving the same victim. There's a risk of reoffense here. And given his several prior convictions for battery in the early 2000s, the state's requesting a $4,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss English, a stay away from her residence, anger management courses at his own expense, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if the court can sound for Miss English, thank you.
All right, Ms. Marquita English. Marquita English. All right, go ahead, please.
That's my case, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client has lived is 60 years old. He's lived in the Atlanta area for 20 years. He is currently working and has been at the same job for 9 years. His income is is very modest. We have no objection to the conditions, the stay away, and other things of that like. And we understand, given the circumstances, that signature bond is out of the question. So we would like the surety bond to be as low as possible, given his financial situation now. And he qualifies now, and he would continue to qualify for public defender services. And we would like a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve whatever belongings he has at that location.
Okay,
We would object to the anger management again, as much on financial grounds as anything.
all right. All right, I will order that $4,000 surety bond. And I will order stay away from the 6866 Moat Road of the incident location. No further contact with the victim, Marquita English. One-time law enforcement escort to return to the property to retrieve his personal items. Don't go back without a law enforcement escort. No drugs, alcohol, unprescribed medication, weapons or guns while on bond. And that's it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next, Your Honor, can we go to ACDC and go to position number 3, Ms. Compton Krigler?
What number again?
3.
I'm Ty Compton Krigler, Your Honor.
Okay, 24 CR 006491H. Ty Compton Krigler, charge of 1 count of battery. Pre-trial?
This is the defendant's third arrest showing on the GCIC. The last arrest was in 2022 for an FTA. There are 2 dormant cases in Fulton County, one from 2016 for criminal trespass and one from 2022 for simple assault. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 2 with exception to the bail restricted charge. Nothing further.
Your Honor, this was a magistrate court petition for a criminal arrest warrant that was granted down there, filed by the victim in this case, Melanie Wilborn, regarding an incident that took place on November 14th of 2022. This is a delayed arrest. The petition states that the defendant was a customer who rented a car from her establishment and failed to pay for it. The victim went to go get the car and was able to retrieve it, and then at some point went to the incident location. In this case is an elementary school at 3935 Rux Road, to allow the defendant to gather her belongings out of that vehicle after it was presumably towed from wherever she was. And that's when the defendant got irate and struck the victim, causing scratches to her. The victim successfully obtained a TPO, and that case number is 2022 CV 372848. And that was back in 2022, Your Honor. So at this point, it's probably expired. we've not been in touch with Ms. Wilborn today. We are asking, Your Honor, for a $2,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. This defendant has an open felony matter, Your Honor, for 2 counts of cruelty in the first, 2 counts of felony fleeing, 2 counts of false statements, driving on a suspended registration, as well as the 2 open cases that she has in state court that are both in bench warrant status, Your Honor, and she has 2 prior arrests for FTAs on those matters. So there's a concern that she won't return to court, and it's the basis for asking for a surety bond, Your Honor. If you could sound for Ms. Wilborn, thank you.
All right, Ms. Wilborn. Ms. Wilborn. All right, go ahead, PD.
Yes, Your Honor, that's my case. My client is 29 years old. She has lived in this area her whole life. She works as a hairstylist, high school graduate. She has 2 children, ages 8 and 9 that live with her. Her position is that this was a self-defense in regard to I guess it was Miss Wilborn. We would be asking, we have no issue with the conditions of the bond. We would be asking for, I believe she would still fall within the ability to get a signature bond. I may have missed something there, but so we'd be asking for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. And again, this was her position is it's a self-defense. As far as the FTAs, she has a good address. She told me she's had a good address, and they're just missing something as far as the notice is reaching her.
All right, I'm going to order a $2,000 surety bond. And I'm going to order to stay away from the incident location.
That's my children's school, and she came to the school. She doesn't even work there.
So that wasn't the incident location because it was a rental car
She
from
came
somewhere.
to my children's school. That's where she came and took the vehicle from with my belongings inside of it. I was trying to retrieve my belongings, and she was physical with me.
Okay, hold on.
Your Honor, we're not asking for a stay away. It doesn't appear that there's any connection with the location and these parties.
Okay, so right, I will retract to stay away, since that was not the incident location per se. But no further contact with Miss Wilborn.
It was the incident location, though. She's
Well,
lying.
I know what you're saying, but it's not, I guess, in the legal sense of my mind as to where it started, I should say. And so you just stay 200 yards away from Miss Wilborn. Don't go around her. Don't have any contact with her while you're on bond. And that's no further contact with her. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond. And again, that will be the 2,000 surety. Okay. Thank you.
Question,
Next position 8, Your Honor, Ms. Gahani.
Question, did she have 2 bench warrants or just the one, the 23 CR 0074999H? Was that the only one?
She's got another one, 18 CR 0000169H.
I'm sorry, start over, 18 CR.
0000169H.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Deputies?
Position number 8, Ms. Gahani. Ms. Gahani? Ghani, Ms. Ghani.
Ms. Ghani, okay. This is 24 CR 006496C. Yanira Ghani, charged with 1 count of battery family violence.
This is the first arrest, no prior history. The defendant meets the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
All right.
Your Honor,
State,
this incident took place September 15th at 1783 Stanton Road. The victim is Byron Horton. He stated that the defendant and she were arguing outside the house before the defendant entered the home. They later went inside. At some point, the victim went upstairs and locked himself in his room. A few minutes later, the defendant went upstairs and broke into the bedroom with a knife. The victim stated that the suspect threatened him, stating that they were going to fight after she gets done drinking. The victim also showed the officers some text messages about threats. When they arrived on scene, they could see scratch marks on the victim's arms. The state has not been in touch with Mr. Horton today, and we're requesting a signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with Mr. Horton, a stay away from the incident location, anger awareness course, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Mr. Horton, thank you.
all right, Mr. Byron Horton. Mr. Byron Horton. All right, go ahead, PD.
Yes, Your Honor. If I could inquire of the solicitor, what was the recommendation on the size and type of bond?
Signature bond through pretrial.
Your Honor, we would have no objection to that, nor the conditions of the bond. We would object to anger management.
All right, I'm going to order a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. I'm going to order 2-day anger awareness course. I'm going to order stay away from the incident location on Stanton Road. No further contact with the victim, Byron Horton. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, unprescribed medication, or guns while on bond.
Thank you.
That should be it.
What level, Your Honor?
Oh, I'm sorry, level 1.
A question.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go
Oh,
come back to
excuse me,
courtroom
Your Honor.
2.
Your Honor,
Hold on a second.
she
yes.
needs to retrieve her belongings from that location.
Okay, one-time police escort
Hey,
to
man.
retrieve her belongings
Judge Campbell.
from that location.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Milton. Do you have Erica Stewart over there?
Who?
Erica Stewart.
Yes, we're waiting for her to speak to Mr. McLean.
Okay. Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 9. Mr. Gooden.
Okay. This is 24 CR 0064998E. Antonius Gooden, charged with 1 count of simple battery, family violence. Pretrial.
This is the defendant's 38th arrest. The last arrest was in 2019 for hit and run and driving while license suspended or revoked. It appears on Odyssey that the case is still open in traffic court in Fulton County. There were 2 felony convictions outside of the 10-year period for drugs, a 97 arrest for simple battery in East Point, and no disposition was listed, a 99 arrest for simple battery, which appeared to be dismissed out of Fulton County, a 98 arrest for battery and battery domestic violence, which appeared to be dismissed also out of Fulton County. I saw a 2009 battery case versus an Amina Aziz in 2009, which appeared to be dismissed. And then a 2010 misdemeanor conviction for willful obstruction. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3, nothing further.
All right.
Your Honor, this incident happened September 15th, 2024. The victim in this case is Renita Starr. She lives with the defendant. She states that he accused her of cheating on him with a supervisor. An argument ensued, and he put his hands on her neck. She threw water on the defendant to get him off of her and says that she was able to breathe and did not feel like she was going to lose consciousness. The warrant also says that there was witnesses to the case, Your Honor. It's her children. They told the officers that the defendant accused their mother of cheating and then struck her with his hands. We've been in touch with Miss Starr today. I believe she's also on the Zoom. She states that she and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They live together at the incident location and they have 3 children together. She stated that she was on the couch when they were arguing and the defendant grabbed her by the neck and applied pressure. She states she was able to breathe. She did not feel like she was going to lose consciousness and threw water on the defendant to get him off of her. She states that this is the second time the defendant's been violent towards her. And she stated that he was violent with her in the last month, but she did not call the police. She states that ever since she accepted a promotion at her job, the defendant has been more aggressive and the arguments have increased. She states that she's currently in fear of him and she wants no contact and would like for him to stay away from the residence, and states that he'll need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. Your Honor, state's requesting a $1,500 good bond, no further contact with Miss Starr, stay away from the incident location, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol while out on bond. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Starr, I believe she's online.
Ms. Starr. Ms. Starr. If you wish to address the court today, you need to turn on your camera. If not, I'll keep moving. Ms. Starr. Can't see you, can't hear you. All right, go ahead, PD.
Yes, John, that's my case. My client has lived here in the Atlanta area his entire life. He's been working at the same for the same company for 8 years. He has GED. He denies the allegations as stated. He's not interested in getting back or going back. So we would have no objection to any stay away or no further contact. Let's see. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. And I may have mentioned this, and then the solicitor, the one-time law enforcement escort.
All right, I will order a $1,500 good bond, surety bond. I will order no further contact with the victim, Ms. Starr. Was there a stay away state or no?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, it is. All right, stay away from the incident location. And I'm going to order no drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns while on bond, and a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his personal items.
Yeah, excuse me.
No, your attorney's probably not going to want you to speak.
We spoke pretty thoroughly, Mr. Goodman. And you talked about not wanting to go back, and it seems like we're in a good place on that. So I would not advise you to speak at this time.
Now, what I'm saying is, she threw the water on me. I was asleep. She threw the water on me. What they talking about? I put my hand on. I went to the bathroom. My children told the police the same thing. Both of my children told the police the same thing. When the police put me in the handcuff,
We're not going over the facts. This is a bond hearing. This is not your trial. We can talk to your attorney later. This is not a trial. Okay. Thank you.
Next is gonna be position number 10, Mr. James Green.
Oh, you said 10. This is 24 CR 006497F, James Green. We have 1 count of driving without a valid license, no insurance, driving on suspended registration, obscured our missing license plate, and giving false name and failure to have license on person. Pre-trial.
This is the defendant's 26th arrest. The last arrest was in 2018 for a probation violation, 4 felony convictions outside of the 10-year period that are drug-related. 2002, the defendant pled no-lo for driving while license suspended or revoked. 2003, arrest for driving while license suspended or revoked, which was dismissed. There were misdemeanor convictions for willful obstruction in 2003 and 2005. An arrest in 98 for criminal trespass. 2005 felony conviction for 2 counts of CWAG in Fulton County. No prior arrests for failure to register. 3 prior arrests for probation violations regarding a CWAG case, and the defendant does meet the criteria for level 3.
Your Honor, this incident happened on September 14th, 2024. Officers were monitoring traffic when they observed a beige-colored vehicle driving down MLK Junior Drive with a tinted cover obstructing the visibility of the tag. The officers initiated a traffic stop. The defendant pulled over. The officer ran the tag on the car, and it had no valid registration and no valid insurance. He approached the driver. He informed the driver of the reason for the stop, requested a driver's license. The defendant gave him a DDS printed form with the name Eric Blanton, which come to find out later is his brother. The officer ran the brother's license and showed that there were warrants out for his arrest for failure to appear on DUI offenses, and as a result, went to arrest who they believed was Mr. Blanton. And then while en route to the jail, the defendant admitted that he was not Mr. Blanton, that he was his brother, and the officer ran that information and came back that Mr. Green does not have a driver's license, and he also had an active warrant out of Fulton County for a failure to register, which is open, Your Honor. The state's requesting a $1,000 good bond on count 1, Your Honor, a signature bond on the remaining counts. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol allowed on bond. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, PD.
Yes, Your Honor, that's my case. We actually don't have any objection to the state's recommendation, except we would like count 1 to also be a signature bond.
Your Honor, could you give me one moment to see what happened this morning, possibly in felony first appearance?
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, just give me one moment.
Got a $2,500 good bond.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Judge, are you there?
Yes. Hold on a second. Okay. We're waiting on pretrial to come back to tell us about the felony bond.
Oh, I believe that they said it was a $2,500 good bond for felony.
2,500.
Is that what you said?
That's correct.
Yes.
Oh, okay, 2,500. Okay.
Mhm.
I thought you were checking. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
already.
All right. Okay. And so the state, you all recommended again. Give me the state's recommendation.
On count one, Your Honor, driving without a valid license, $1,000 surety, and a signature bond on the remaining counts. No driving without a valid license or insurance or registration. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol while on bond.
All right. And PD Cook, you agree with that? Have any problems with
Your
that?
Honor, we agreed with the state, with the exception of count one. We would also like that to be a signature bond.
And Judge, I'll add, according to his driver's history, he hasn't had a good license for quite some time. 2020 was the last time he had a learner's permit, and that's been expired for quite a while. And he has priors for driving on a suspended and driving without a valid license.
Okay, he just likes to drive with no license. I get it.
Or
Yep, I
insurance
will-
or registration.
Any of that, right? So I think that's fair. $1,000 surety on the driver's license charge. Maybe he'll stop driving now. So that's $1,000 surety and 500 signature bond through the jail on the other. So it'll be a split bond. So that'll be 5, 1, 15, 2,000. So 2,500 on the others. Did I add that up right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
All
2,500.
right, so, right, 2,500 signature bond on the other charges and a 1,000 surety on the driving without a valid license. No driving, Mr. Green, unless you have a valid driver's license. So get a bike, Uber,
Now I'm gonna get my
Lyft,
license.
These
or
are through the
something like
jail,
that.
correct? I'm sorry. These are through the jail, correct?
Yes, and the other signatures are through the jail. Did you have a question?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Your Honor, we got position number 12, Mr. Ira Jones.
Okay.
Your Honor, this was a conflict with Erica Stewart, and I believe we conflicted Mr. Jones out.
All right, so what are we doing?
Well, I guess again, we're
We
looking.
don't have a conflict defender?
Your Honor, we didn't get a conflict attorney out of today. I tried calling Ms. McLeod, but I don't think Mr. Jones want to be reset to tomorrow. I would like to go pro se, Your Honor.
All right, you want to represent yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand the consequences to representing yourself? Supposed to know the Georgia laws, okay?
Your Honor, just for clarification, has the
Thank you.
PD's office interviewed either of these individuals?
No. Oh, well, let me see. I take that back. Yes, yes, I did. I did interview Mr. Jones. Yes.
And so who will the PD's office be representing today?
It would be Erica Stewart.
But you haven't interviewed her.
I haven't. I don't think Mr. McLean has. It was in his group of people. I sent out the conflict, so and let him know that Mr. Jones would be conflicted out. So I don't believe Mr. McLean has interviewed Miss Stewart.
Your Honor, if we could put these to the end of the docket.
Okay.
Miss Allen, I can't put him to the end of the docket. He has medical issues, and I have to take him straight to medical after this.
Okay.
This, Ms. Stewart is Mr. McLean's client.
He hasn't spoken with her, so we can't address her.
Well,
And the gentleman in front of you doesn't have an attorney.
yeah, he sort of spoke with her a little bit.
I don't know what that means.
Where
A little bit.
where is he?
He's in a break.
Yeah, he's probably with
okay.
the interpreter,
Okay.
correct?
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing the Spanish interpreter. And
Let me do Mr. Jones if he's gonna represent himself. Okay. Mr. Jones, you're gonna represent yourself, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 24 CR 006499G. Ira Jones is charged with 1 count of willful obstruction and the 2nd count of battery, family violence, pretrial.
This is the defendant's 17th arrest. The last arrest was in 2022 for unlawful possession of a weapon by a felon in Illinois, which the defendant appeared to be convicted of. A 94 arrest for domestic battery, which appeared to be dismissed in Chicago. An 07 misdemeanor conviction for domestic battery with Cook County, Illinois. A separate 2007 misdemeanor conviction for violation of a protection order and misdemeanor assault with Cook County. A 2008 arrest for assault domestic violence, which appeared to be dismissed also out of Cook County, Chicago. 22 felony conviction for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and misdemeanor conviction for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which appeared to be dismissed in Cook County. 2 felonies outside of the 10-year period, 1 for arson and 1 for a firearm. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 2 with the exception to the bail restricted charges.
All right,
My assessment of this case is that both the co-defendants are not residents of Georgia. Mrs. Stewart appears this is her only arrest. Mr. Jones, you just heard his criminal history. This is an incident that occurred on the 14th in South Fulton. Police were called to a location. It's a strip mall where I believe there's a restaurant. I'll get you the correct address. I apologize. Security guard flagged down an officer who was in the location working a second job and reported that there had been an altercation observed between 2 people inside of a vehicle there at the location. Officer Banks walked over and observed Mrs. Stewart checking the busted lip on her face in the mirror. She also was seen to have bruising on the right side of her face. The defendant in front of you, Mr. Jones, had bruising and bleeding behind his ear and a bite mark on his finger. Both individuals claimed that the other person started it, and there are no witnesses on scene to corroborate either one of them in that respect. While police were speaking to Mrs. Stewart, the defendant in front of you, Ira Jones, got in his car or tried to flee in his car. He did stop shortly thereafter, but obstructed and refused verbal commands to exit his vehicle. He tried to get back into his vehicle after he exited his vehicle. He refused to put his hands behind his back. He made some comments about how he didn't want to go to jail down here in Georgia. And I understand why. I've been trying to get some information out of Cook County, Illinois this morning via the internet. However, it is difficult to obtain some of that information. You did just hear about multiple felony convictions that this gentleman has since the 90s, including domestic violence battery, misdemeanor convictions, violations of a protective order, possessing a firearm by a felon, and aggravated assault, Your Honor, most recently in 2022. Just based on the criminal history and the demeanor on scene, Your Honor, we'd be asking for a $4,000 surety bond. This gentleman is not a resident of Georgia. His risk to flee as well as reoffend based on his criminal history is high. I have not had an opportunity to review more of this incident, including talking to an officer in South Fulton. So a dual arrest is always problematic, Your Honor, but it does look like both of these people received injuries. So that's what we'd be asking for. We'd also ask for no contact. I did note on the citations that the individuals in front of you don't have the same address, but both have addresses out of Chicago, Illinois. So they don't live together. Orderings to stay away and have no contact shouldn't be an issue. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jones, you're a resident of Illinois?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
57 years old.
Okay. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for a company called Rivian Automotive. We make EDVs and electric vehicles.
Okay. And you're in a relationship with your co-defendant, Erica Stewart, or what's the relationship?
Erica Stewart is my wife. We have 2 children together, 9-year-old girl and a 15-year-old son. And we really need to get back to Illinois so we can keep our jobs. It was just
Are you gonna go ahead?
It was a funeral while we was down here. We was burying my mother.
So your mother just passed, who was a Georgia resident?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm grieving, so that, you know, I'm not gonna talk about the incident, but we really need to get back to our children.
The incident location is 7490 Old National Highway, Your Honor.
Okay. Do we know what that is? Is that just a parking lot, a store or something?
It's a bar, sir. I mean, Your Honor.
It's a what?
50-yard line, a bar.
Oh, bar.
Yes.
Okay. So you went to a bar after the funeral?
Yes, ma'am.
And that didn't bode well, huh? Alcohol and grieving. So I just, the problem is, you don't seem to have any other ties to Georgia. Now that your mother's deceased, I guess you don't have any other connection to Georgia, correct?
I have an uncle down here.
You see him at the funeral?
Yes, I did.
Okay. But you don't live with him or have any reason to come back to see him, I guess. We have to make sure of it. That's why I'm gonna have to give you a surety bond.
I come
And
back
not
to
a
see my uncle all the time.
Yeah. Well, but your history is not very good at all. Your history is terrible. And so I have to make sure that you're going to come back. So you'll have to go through a bonding company. So I'm going to agree with the state and give you I'll give you a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 on the battery, $1,000 on the obstruction, for a total of $4,000. And I don't know that I can say no further contact with your wife if y'all gonna try to go back home and take care of your kids. So no further violent contact with your wife.
The citations say that he lives at 74 West 15th Street and she lives at 10923 South Sangamon Street in Chicago.
Do you all live together?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. That's old. That's an old thing.
Driver's license?
No, it's actually on my Illinois state ID. The address she looking at.
Okay.
So you
All
both
right,
live
nope.
together at 10923 South Sangamon?
10923 Sangamon, Chicago, Illinois, 60643.
Where are your children right now?
They're with her sister.
Okay. All right, no further violent contact with your co-defendant or wife. And the bond, as I stated, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. 4,000 surety. Yes.
I don't know, how much is that I need to walk?
You have to get a bonding company to tell you whether it'll be 10 or 15%.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, can I tell the deputy in courtroom 1 to come over to courtroom 2?
Okay.
All right, we're on our way. All right, thank you.
I'm back from the breakout in interpretation.
Whew, you were gone for about 10 hours.
Seems that way.
So while we waiting for interpreter case, we're gonna go to add-on 1, Mr. Oriyami.
Okay.
I'm sorry, are we going back to Ms. Stewart?
Yeah, can we finish Ms. Stewart, Your Honor?
Let's do Ms. Stewart, the co-defendant. Real quick, deputy, if you don't mind. She is.
Mr. McLean, what do you need to hear?
I heard the tail end and I was hearing what I expected to hear with regard to Mr. Jones. I simply would ask for Eric Stewart to have a signature bond, and I wouldn't be surprised if y'all hadn't already asked for that yourself.
Let me hear our history. In trial 24 CR 006500 G, Erica Stewart, 1 count of battery, family violence.
This is the defendant's first arrest, Your Honor. No prior history. The defendant does meet the criteria for UJR jail, with the exception to the bail restricted charges. Nothing further.
Okay.
You've heard the state's recitation of the facts, Your Honor. Our concern is that the defendant, Mr. Jones, has a substantial history that includes domestic violence. He just testified he was here at his mom's funeral at a bar, and both of these individuals appeared to have visible injuries. We're concerned about the safety of Mrs. Stewart, honestly. Thank you.
Okay, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial. I know pretrial doesn't like to take those who live out of state, but we're gonna have to keep up with you, Ms. Stewart, because I'm assuming that she doesn't have any contacts with Georgia.
She has a cousin who lives in Athens, Your Honor, and I told her that if you didn't get a signature bond, she better have a Georgia relative ready to drive. And so she does have a cousin about 65 miles away.
Well, she's not under 18, is she?
No,
I understand just the contacts.
Right.
But
She's
I'm going to put her on a pretrial signature bond.
Your Honor, we wouldn't object through the jail.
You wouldn't object through the jail? Okay. Well, no, we've got the restrictions, but if you're not gonna object, then fine.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So we'll change it to the jail. $3,000 signature bond through the jail per judge. And without any objection from the state. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. And I had no further violent contact with your husband. Are you all living together? Are they living together?
Yes,
Okay. And do you want to have contact?
yes, my husband, he's never hit me before.
Okay. No further violent contact. And that's it. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns. All right, that's it.
And Your Honor, when we finish with courtroom 2, we have Ms. Espinoza for Spanish interpreter.
Okay.
That's Mr. McLean's client, I believe.
We gotta go back in a breakout to interview her.
Wait a minute. No, that's Attorney Cook's client.
Now Mr. Cook needs to go into a breakout, right?
Yes.
So do we want to do one, then the breakout, or the breakout?
Well,
and
need to back up here because Miss Espinoza was also part of a conflict. Yeah, she had a conflict with Luis Meneses, and we conflicted Miss Espinoza out. So she's waiting a conflict attorney as well, which I guess we have
Ms.
not.
Strong, so we couldn't get a conflict.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
We've got to do something about that because this is getting to be pretty bad.
We need, I mean, we appreciate the ones that are here, but we need to expand the pool.
Yeah.
So at this point, you guys have interviewed Mr. Meneses,
Yes, he's mine.
okay? And the interpreter needs to maybe speak with Mrs. Espinoza.
Yes. Which one you want to do first? 50 Cent here. 50
Well, there's
Cent.
no one, there's not an attorney to lead Miss Espinoza through her interview because that would have been a conflict attorney.
So we're not Riverside. We can reset her till tomorrow.
Yeah, Riverside wouldn't be an issue here. We just need to.
All right, let's do that and see if you all can get a conflict here tomorrow. Let's see.
Your Honor, I also would not be opposed to a similar situation as we did with the last set of co-defendants. Mr. Meneses, is that who's in front of the judge?
That is correct.
He has a prior battery for an assault on the same victim who's now his co-defendant, Your Honor. They share.
Right. The problem I have is if she does not understand much English,
So she should get to speak to an interpreter regardless of whether or not there's a conflict attorney here or someone to appraise her of her rights.
But the interpreter can't just interview her flat out. I mean, the interpreter is not to know what to ask and how to talk with her. That's the problem. The interpreter is not an attorney.
Your Honor,
conflict attorney.
Your Honor, I agree with the state. The interpreter can let her know what the court is telling her about what's happening, and that'll
go ahead and do that.
Right.
Would you like to tell her, Your Honor?
Yes, let's go ahead and tell her we'll have to reset her till tomorrow.
Señora Espinosa, van a tener que hacerle una nueva cita para mañana.
So did you let her know we'll try to get her a conflict attorney tomorrow?
Estamos tratando de obtener un abogado para usted.
She understand?
¿Usted entiende, señora, eso? ¿O quiere hacer una pregunta?
Sí, entiendo.
I understand.
Okay. All right, we'll do that.
Okay, haremos eso entonces.
Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Chancellor.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I will redo the conflict notice with the correct the date so that it will be on whoever's desk as early tomorrow as possible. But again, we still need to think about expanding the pool with people we deal with.
We're gonna leave that up to you all. Just tell them the judge was screaming and hollering at him.
Your Honor, can we request that Mrs. Chancey ask the Mrs. Ruiz Espinosa if she wants to represent herself today?
Señora, pondrán la petición por un abogado y para que venga lo más rápido posible y la señora fiscal, señora Allen, le pregunta si usted quiere representarse a usted misma hoy. también tiene esa posibilidad.
Sí.
Yes.
Your Honor, this young woman has no criminal history. She is arguably a victim for the second time of a battery family violence.
Esta acusada no tiene antecedentes penales y ha sido agredida por segunda vez ante las mismas circunstancias.
The state
And, no-
would,
and no criminal history, correct?
Y no tiene antecedentes penales, ¿cierto?
Cierto.
yes,
Correct.
Your Honor.
That's
The state
right.
would request a signature bond, no further violent contact, allow her to get home to her 3-month-old. We'd also request no drug, alcohol, or weapons.
Sí, no, por eso quería pedir una fianza bajo firma, no tener contacto violento y poder dejarla que regrese a su casa con su bebé de 3 meses y que quede prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
Ok, está bien.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, I will give her a $3,000 signature bond through the jail.
Le otorgo una fianza de $3,000 bajo firma a través de la cárcel.
Ok.
Okay.
2,000 on the battery, 1,000 on the cruelty.
$2,000 por el cargo de golpes y lesiones y $1,000 por crueldad ante menor.
And state, is there any objection?
¿Hay alguna objeción la fiscalía por parte de la fiscalía?
No, ninguna.
No, Your Honor.
No,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond.
Queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté bajo fianza.
And state, are we doing no contact with the co-defendant or no further violent contact?
I believe the state's going to request no further contact for the co-defendant in position number 13, the young man.
Okay.
Para el joven de la posición 13, la fiscalía va a pedir que no tenga contacto alguno más.
All right, no further contact with him. Make sure she understands.
No puede tener ningún tipo de contacto con el coacusado. Quiero asegurarme que usted entiende ese, ningún tipo de contacto.
Sí, entiendo.
I understand, yes.
Okay. And were you going to say something else, state?
¿Iba a decir algo de la fiscalía?
No.
No, Your Honor, I was just yelling at my children. I apologize.
Oh,
No,
okay.
estaba hablándole a mis hijos, me disculpo.
Oh,
All right. All right, if that's it, then that will be the conclusion for this case.
Thank you.
Eso es todo y este es como termina el caso hoy.
gracias.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
De nada.
Your Honor, did you want to do position 13?
We can.
Okay.
Vamos a la posición 13.
All right, this is 24 CR 006485Y. Luis Meneses charged with 1 count of cruelty to children in the third, 1 count of battery family violence. I'm sorry, 2 counts of battery family violence. Pre-trial.
Your Honor, I'm showing that.
Este es
Hold on.
el caso 24CR006485Y. El señor Luis Meneses con un cargo de crueldad ante un menor en el tercer grado y 2 cargos de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar.
I am showing that this is the first arrest and no prior history.
Muestro que es el primer arresto sin antecedentes penales.
The defendant meets the criteria for level 1.
y el acusado cumple los requisitos para un estado de nivel 1.
All right, go ahead, state.
Your Honor, this is an incident that just occurred on the 15th at about 6 in the morning.
Este es un caso que acaba de ocurrir el día 15 en la mañana.
Police were called to 814 Roswell Creek Lane.
Y la policía fue llamada al 814 de Roswell Creek Lane.
A police report and 911 call was made about a fight between a male and a female.
Y las operadoras del 911 recibieron la llamada acerca de una pelea entre un varón y una mujer.
On scene, the police encountered Mr. Meneses, the defendant in front of you.
Y en el lugar de los hechos, la policía enfrentó al señor Luis Meneses, que está enfrente suyo.
He had a bloody ripped shirt on and was crying.
Él tenía una camisa ensangrentada y estaba llorando.
The 911 caller, who was a short-term resident at the location, spoke to police.
Y la persona que llamó al 911, que era un residente que hacía poco que estaba ahí, habló con la policía.
They reported that this was not the first incident that they'd been a witness to in the past 10 days.
Ellos declararon que no fue el primer incidente que habían atestiguado en los últimos 10 días.
Police made contact with Mrs. Denise Ruiz Espinoza, the co-defendant we just addressed.
Y la policía contactó a la señora Denise Ruiz Espinosa, la señora con quien acabamos de hablar.
She was seen to have a bloody laceration to her nose.
Y ellos se le vio un raspón sangrante en la nariz,
a broken tooth,
un diente roto
and a bloody mouth.
Y una boca ensangrentada.
Police asked about the child that she shares with the defendant.
Y la policía le preguntó acerca del menor que comparte con el acusado.
And the police were led to a sleeping room where a cousin and the child were sleeping.
Y la policía se lo llevó a una habitación donde el menor y un primo estaba durmiendo.
A young woman who was sleeping with the child looked uncomfortable making a statement.
Y la jovencita que estaba durmiendo con la menor, el niño o niña, se vio incómoda a tomar declaración.
And while looking at Mrs. Ruiz Espinosa, said she didn't know what happened and nothing happened.
Y mientras miraba al señor Ruiz Espinosa, dijo que no había visto qué pasó, ni sabía qué pasó.
Mrs. Ruiz Espinosa initially told the police that she and her husband had been walking home.
La señora Ruiz Espinosa le dijo a la policía que ella y su esposo habían ido caminando a la casa
with their 3-month-old baby
con la bebé de 3 meses
when an unknown black male assaulted them.
Cuando un varón moreno los agredió.
She says she ran back to their house with her baby.
Ella dijo que corrió de nuevo a la casa con su bebé.
While her husband stayed to fight.
Mientras que el esposo se quedó en el lugar a pelear.
Inside the location, police saw that food had been thrown everywhere and the location inside was in disarray.
La policía vio que dentro del lugar había comida tirada por todos lados, que estaba en un total desorden.
There was a broken beer bottle and food all over the kitchen.
Había una botella de cerveza rota y comida por todos lados.
A mattress for guests sleeping on the floor had blood drops all over it.
Había un colchón para invitados, que durmieran los invitados con manchas de sangre.
Police, went outside and spoke with the defendant who reported a different version.
La policía salió afuera para hablar con el acusado, quien dio una declaración diferente.
He had multiple bite marks on his body
Él tenía mordeduras múltiples en su cuerpo
and said that they had been walking home and things got out of hand.
dijo que iban caminando hacia la casa y que las cosas se pasaron de límite.
And he admitted punching Mrs. Ruiz Espinoza in the face after she pushed him.
Y admitió darle un puñetazo en la cara a la señora Espinosa después que ella lo empujó.
Police located the car that Mr. Menasas is driving in the parking lot.
La policía encontró el vehículo que el señor Meneses maneja en el estacionamiento.
There was a busted out rear window.
Y tenía una ventanilla rota, con el vidrio roto.
The defendant reported that his child had been asleep inside the vehicle in the baby carrier.
El acusado dijo que la niña, la bebé, había estado durmiendo allí en la sillita de seguridad
With Mrs. Ruiz Espinosa, the mom.
con la señora Ruiz Espinosa, la mamá.
And that he had used a full can of beer to smash the window in order to get them out.
Y que él había usado una botella de cerveza para romper la ventanilla y poder sacarlas del vehículo.
The baby seat was seen to be covered in shards of glass, and the full beer can was on the seat in the car.
Se vio a la bebé cubierta con pedazos de vidrio y también una botella de cerveza sobre el asiento de la menor.
Police arrested both individuals, as you now know.
Como sabe, la policía arrestó a los dos individuos.
Hopefully, the other people on scene were interviewed.
Y las otras personas que estaban en el lugar de los hechos fueron entrevistadas.
A review of this gentleman's criminal history shows that he was arrested on November the 24th, 2023.
La examinación de antecedentes de este joven mostró que él fue arrestado el 24 de noviembre del 2023.
When police were called to the same location on a domestic.
Cuando a la policía se la llamó al mismo lugar por un incidente de violencia doméstica.
And during that incident, the defendant also admitted to striking the same victim.
Y en ese caso también se lo encontró al acusado golpeando a la misma víctima.
She was seen to have marks on her face and neck at that time as well.
Él también se lo vio con marcas en la cara y en el cuello, en ese momento también.
And the victim actually recanted or refused to admit on scene that she'd just been assaulted in front of the police. She wouldn't talk to the police about it or be honest.
Y la víctima rehusó hablar o admitir o hablar con la policía acerca de lo que había pasado en ese incidente.
So based on the prior report and a similar attempt to try to remove any consequences or avoid consequences for the young man in front of you, the state has concerns, real concerns.
Entonces, basado en el informe del anterior incidente que fueron informados, la fiscalía tiene preocupaciones acerca de este caso.
There are children present and multiple witnesses to these incidences.
Hubo niños presentes y testigos múltiples en estos incidentes.
And the defendants made admissions in both instances that the state now knows about.
Y el acusado hizo admisiones en ambos incidentes de los que la fiscalía tiene conocimiento ahora.
So the lethality risk is high, Your Honor.
Entonces, el riesgo es alto, su señoría.
We'd be asking for a $4,000 surety bond, absolutely no contact, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Entonces, se recomienda una fianza bajo garantía de $4,000, no tener contacto absoluto con la víctima y que quede prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas.
And to stay away from 814 Roswell Creek Lane.
Y que se mantenga distanciado de la residencia del 814 Roswell Creek Lane en Roswell.
All right, this is PD McLean, I believe.
Yes, Your Honor.
¿Es el señor McLean? ¿El caso del señor McLean? Sí, su señoría.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, we would simply ask the court to consider a bond, to certainly consider a signature bond, but the court is not leaning towards a signature bond. After hearing that, we would ask the court to consider a $1,500 or $2,000 signature bond. I noticed that I believe there's private counsel in the other case. And so I think that he'll be hiring private counsel, and that will move the case along a bit faster. And I think that that would enable him to be able to pay that counsel and get the case going, and that would serve everyone.
Sí, yo noté que I'm sorry, let me start again. What we're asking, Your Honor, is possibly for lo que estamos haciendo es pedir una fianza bajo firma. Y si eso no parece favorable ante la señora jueza, pedimos que sea una fianza de $1,500 o $2,000. He también notado que ha habido otro abogado en el caso anterior. Él tendrá que contratar a un otro abogado, ya se habló de eso, para que pueda seguir adelante con este caso de manera más rápida y que también sirva y sea beneficioso para todos.
All right.
Mr. McLean, what do you mean private counsel in what case?
Señor McLean, ¿qué quiere decir? ¿En qué caso hay otro abogado?
I assume it's the case that you mentioned.
Creo que es en el caso que usted mencionó.
That information is just his arrest history. It's out of Alpharetta. He doesn't have another case.
Eso es solamente un historial penal, no es otro caso.
Unless you know about something.
A no ser que usted sepa.
I was looking up a CP case that is open from November.
Yo vi otro caso que está abierto desde noviembre.
Could you give me the CP number?
¿Me puede dar el número?
Let's see.
Perhaps there's an issue with the matrilineal Hispanic name entry.
And with vowel spelling, is the spelling of the name with a vowel as well. 23 CP 2236662. And
Thank you. I apologize, Your Honor.
And what's confusing is that there's a substitution of counsel in there that names people that aren't in the style of the case. I don't know if that was just a typo. And I have made inquiry. I called that firm and asked, is this just a typo? Is this a mistake? Is this lawyer involved in this case at all? So I don't know. I haven't heard back from them. They said they'd try to get hold of somebody.
Yo he contactado a este abogado y para ver, porque nombraba otros nombres que no estaban en el caso, y yo me contacté y les pregunté y todavía no he recibido una respuesta de ellos.
So, Your Honor, he's out on bond for the case you just heard about from last November, $5,000 good bond through pretrial services. No contact with the victim is part of that order. And to stay away from 814 Roswell Creek Lane.
Su señoría, él tiene está bajo fianza por el último incidente en noviembre por $5,000 de fianza bajo firma. Él no debe tener contacto alguno con la víctima y mantenerse alejado de la residencia.
We'd be asking for a cash bond, Your Honor. Thank you.
Lo que vamos a pedir es una fianza en efectivo, su señoría. Gracias.
And Attorney Allen, could you provide me with the previous case number?
Yes, I'll send it to you. It's
Okay.
23 CP 223-662. And that is associated with booking number 231-9451. So he clearly needs to be linked in the system. I'll
Thank
send you
you.
something now. Thank you.
And ASG Allen, you saw that message, correct? The chat. You see it regarding Gooden case?
I will absolutely reach out. We'll make sure people at the jail get the information they need.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna order the $4,000 cash bond. That'll be 1,000 on the cruelty and 2,000 on each of the battery, family violence. 4,000 cash, no further contact with the co-defendant / victim. Stay away from the incident location. And also no further contact with the children. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, Judge, did you say 4,000 or 5,000?
It should be 5. I'm sorry, 2 on each of the batteries, 1 on the cruelty, 5,000.
Entonces, le impongo una fianza de $4,000 en efectivo, $1,000 por el caso de crueldad ante menor y $2,000 por cada cargo de golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar. No debe tener más contacto con la víctima, no tener más contacto, mantenerse distanciado de la residencia y no tener más contacto con los niños. Queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté bajo fianza.
Nothing further.
Nada más.
Next.
May the interpreter be...
I'm sorry, is that it for Ms. Chansey?
May the interpreter be dismissed, Your Honor.
Yes, I don't think you need to make an announcement.
Would you like me to?
Go ahead, might as well.
¿Hay alguien que necesite un intérprete en español para hablar con la señora jueza? Por favor, prenda su cámara y avísenos. I think
All right.
we're
Thank
fine.
you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is gonna be add-on 1, Mr. Oriana.
Oh, may I inquire? I received a phone call from someone who was a relative of somebody in the Compton case, and I was not familiar with that. So I told them I would ask if the Compton case has already been done.
It has.
Okay, thank you.
That was a person with a hyphenated name, I believe.
Yes, yes.
2,000 surety. Add-on 1, Yukuni Oriami, 1 count of false report of a crime. That is 24 CR 006501G. Retrial.
This is the third arrest. The last arrest was in 2023 for theft by shoplifting, which the defendant completed the pretrial diversion program in Cobb County. The other cycle was from a DUI from 2016, which was no crossed out of DeKalb County. The defendant does meet the criteria for UJR jail. Nothing further.
That's my case, Your Honor. This is an incident that actually occurred on the 3rd of July. This defendant walked into the police department and made a report that he'd been robbed and kidnapped or carjacked the day before on the 2nd of July. He said that he'd been at 7000 Central Parkway, which is an office location, where he was leaving his job, and in the parking deck, a black man with an Asian accent approached him with a gun and forced him inside his car and made him drive to 3 different ATM locations for Wells Fargo. Ultimately, he also said he was forced to change some withdrawal amount information on his bank account through the app on his phone to allow himself to withdraw money and then give it to his kidnapper, who sat in the front seat of his vehicle as he drove around. He says that once the kidnapper got money, he directed him to drive into where the Kroger and a BP gas station is in a nearby area there. And that's when the victim left and called 911, but he was told because he was now in Smyrna, he needed to relocate to Sandy Springs, that area, and make a police report, but he couldn't because he had to go pick up his daughter from basketball. So he walked into the Sandy Springs Police Department the next day and made a police report. Investigators were assigned. They reached out to the location where the defendant or the victim / defendant claims to have been kidnapped out of the parking deck. There were no surveillance cameras, but they were told that there was a bathroom creeper that was being investigated, and the police were sent pictures of this defendant as a suspected bathroom creeper at the location. They then went and got video surveillance from the multiple ATMs, as well as the information for the defendant's tracking stuff for his bank. He's shown on multiple surveillance cameras at Wells Fargo, standing at an ATM alone by himself and in his car with no one in the passenger seat or the back seat. Traffic cameras were also used to identify his vehicle and tag number in and around the area at the time he's reported that he had been kidnapped, and he's driving in his car by himself, even though he'd reported there was a kidnapper in the passenger seat with him. Police tried to make contact with the defendant again to discuss what they'd found with him, and he was not responsive, and so warrants were taken out. The criminal history you just heard about includes arrests for DUI, shoplifting, multiple actual arrests for DUI that were dismissed. But ultimately, it does look like he is a candidate for a pretrial bond, Your Honor. So we'd ask for a $2,000 bond through pretrial. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Stay away from the 7000 Central Parkway location, unless, of course, he's still employed there. Thank you. The claim.
Your Honor, we were planning on asking for a signature bond, but if he is not eligible for one, we would ask the court to set a $1,000 surety bond.
No, you're definitely not eligible for a signature bond.
Understood.
Yeah, the facts annoy me. Actually, I would use a stronger word, but because there's someone to go through those links to make up those facts alarms me. I guess I will order a $3,000 surety bond. And I don't know, is he still employed at 7000 Central Parkway?
As an accountant, I don't know if he has his job.
Can you answer the question, sir?
Yes, no, I'm no longer employed at that location.
Good. All right, so you can stay away from there. Stay away from 7000 Central Parkway. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. That's it.
Next is gonna be add-on 3, Mr. Jarvis T. How you doing?
24 CR 006502C, Jarvis T. 1 count of possession of marijuana less than an ounce.
This is the defendant's third arrest. The last arrest was in 2022 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. I don't know if that's this case.
It is, Your Honor. I submitted a dismissal for this case. This is a error. This gentleman already has an open case for this filed charge.
Okay.
It is, one moment. It's a duplicate, 22 CR 007043C.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Yep. Next is gonna be add-on 4, Mr. Walker, Renton Walker.
24 CR 006503B, criminal trespass. 1 count for Brenton Walker, pretrial.
This is the defendant's 30th arrest. The last arrest was in 2019 for a probation violation. And there was a 96 misdemeanor conviction for simple battery, as well as a 96 misdemeanor conviction for criminal trespass, battery, family violence, and simple battery, a 98 misdemeanor conviction for possession of marijuana less than an ounce, 2000 felony conviction for possession of a firearm, a 2004 felony conviction for possession of a controlled substance, and 2013 felony conviction for ID theft. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on the 15th. So yesterday at about 8 p.m. At 1508 Venetian Drive. Police, specifically Officer Gabriel C. S-E-Y, responded to that location and noted that he'd been there previously and given a criminal trespass warning to this defendant, Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker's mother, Gail Patterson, was also present because that's her residence. She reported that she had evicted her son, that he continued to return to the location. Police had been on scene on the 1st of September and told him he needed to stay away and that he needed to remove his belongings that were there on the property as well. On scene on the 15th yesterday, the defendant had returned to the location, had brought items of his personal belongings with him, and had set fire in the backyard. He acknowledged that he knew he was not supposed to be there and that he'd been evicted. Actually looked up the eviction process documentation. It looks like that occurred on August the 26th. His mother has previously tried to file 2 different evictions on him unsuccessfully because of service issues. She's 68 years old, Your Honor. We've been in touch with her. She's here on the Zoom today. She reported ongoing issues with a disrespectful behavior, refusal to stay away from the location, refusal to pay when he lives there, in spite of the fact that he receives a SSI check, and violence against her. So it's taken her since 2020 to be able to get him successfully evicted, Your Honor. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety bond, absolutely no contact with Ms. Gail Patterson, and to stay away from 1508 Venetian Drive. She's requesting no contact. And I would note that the last time the police were there yesterday, he'd started a fire in the backyard. So based on her age, she's 68 at this point, and the behavior looking like it's escalating, there's a risk to this lady, and this could also end up being an elderly crime. Thank you.
Thank you. McLean?
Yes.
Are we gonna have her on, or?
The court can
Ms.
sound for
Patterson?
her. She's here.
Do you wish to address the court, Ms. Patterson, yes or no? Gail Patterson. Do you wish to address the court, yes or no? Can't see you. Can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
can't see you. Miss Patterson, I cannot see you. You got to come into the light or turn on a light.
Okay.
Do you wish to
Yes,
address the
ma'am.
court today, yes or no?
Yes.
Raise your right hand. I'm going to swear you in. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right, put your hand down. Are you in fear of Mr. Brenton?
I'm not so much as fear of him hurting me, but I'm fearful of him destroying my property because he continued to set fires. He had a brain injury in 2010, and he just drank and smoked marijuana every day, all day. I'm just afraid that he really need mental health.
Okay. All right. And so do you want to have any further contact with him?
No, not until he gets some help.
Okay. All right. Any other questions by opposing counsel? Or the
Yes,
state or PD?
I do.
All right, go ahead, McLean.
This fire that was in the back, was it the type of fire that a person warms themselves with as opposed to the type of fire where you're trying to burn the house down or whatever?
He seemed like he had this thing about going places, bringing building material and burning the material. He done this all summer.
Right.
It started last year. So again, I believe in my heart he really need mental health. I can't reason with him. I can't get him to understand to stop doing the things that he's doing.
Okay. How long has he had this brain injury and what was it from?
A fight, and this was in 2010.
And was anybody prosecuted in that?
Yes.
They hit him over the head with a rock or a brick, didn't they?
It was just it was repeatedly beating him in the head with his fist.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I have.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. McLean, and present.
Right. I have some sympathy, and I ask the court to join me in the sympathy for his being beaten and given a brain injury. He does receive a disability check, and as I interviewed, determined to obey this time. He says, "I get it. I was just going back for stuff," and I pointed out to him the police report said, "You already got your stuff. You come back for more stuff." I understand as a person homeless, it would be natural for the police report to say he brought his stuff back with him, that travels with his stuff. But so I didn't read a whole lot into that. But he understands that his mom wants him to stay away, and he's going to do that.
Your Honor, with all due respect, Your Honor, before 2010, this gentleman had felony convictions for possessing a firearm by a convicted felon, loitering, possessing drugs, parole violations. He's got more than 30 cycles. The only thing I see after his brain injury is an identity fraud felony conviction out of DeKalb County. So even though he had an injury, he continued to commit crimes. Asking Mrs. Patterson about the nature of the fires her son was setting, it is not fall, it is 80 degrees outside. She said when asked that she has concerns about him multiple times setting fires. This is not a situation where we need to ask this lady if she's okay with him coming home and this time he's gonna be obeying and following the rules, we would ask for a no contact and to stay away like she's requested.
I was not asking for him to come back.
He needs some support. Why don't we get a evaluation? Why don't we ask the court for that instead?
BHUT or MHUT?
Well, if it's organic brain damage from an injury, it's not treatable. So we could do a BHET if you'd like, but
Well, do you have anything to suggest that might be a good resource for this gentleman who's your client, other than going back to his mom's house?
I don't have that suggestion.
Let's have a social worker visit. How about that?
Let's do a social worker visit. I don't want him to go back into his mother's house. He needs housing.
I'm so glad we could help highlight that issue today for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a $2,000. I don't know, State, are we doing surety or signature?
Your Honor, we'd be asking for a surety bond. As far as the state's concerned, the only concern on the part of the defense is to get someone out of jail and not to address the underlying issues. This gentleman is going to go right back to his mother's house. You just heard he's got a brain injury and doesn't seem to get it, and he's setting fires. So a social...
I was saying the opposite, but despite the brain injury, I do want to acknowledge his brain injury, but he understands now that he will be staying away.
I don't think that that's possible. I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm gonna order 2,000 surety and a BHET and social worker to see him both. Stay away from 1508 Venetian Drive, his mom's house. Stay away from there. No further contact with her right now while he's on bond, so we can sort this out. No drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond.
Right now, Your Honor understands he doesn't have any resources, so he'll be on SAP in a couple of weeks. October 1st.
Okay.
All right.
We have anybody else left? Thank you, Ms. Patterson. You can sign off now.
Position 11, Your Honor, that was a medical reset from Saturday. Is he being reset again?
Yeah, because we need an attorney to come out here and speak to him. He's on a mental health floor.
Also, Norris, that's what I was saying before I unmuted myself. Yeah, I'll be down there as early as I can tomorrow. How soon would I be able to see him? I know this SAP, but I've got a lot of things going on. I'd like to see him as early as you guys would let me see him tomorrow.
Cook, I'm here at 6:45 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. What time do you go home?
Whenever you finish, Judge.
Wow, and you got to be back at that time?
That is correct.
Okay, I'll let him know I'm at the desk and ask for you specifically.
Okay. It's all good.
Yes.
They know who I am.
I know they do.
Oh, yeah.
Your Honor, we're going to go to position number 15.
Okay.
And it's going to be Mr. Rainey.
Let's see. All right, this is 24 CR 006486 FLV Rainey. Charged with 1 count of simple battery, 2nd count pointing or aiming a gun or a pistol at another. Pretrial.
This is the defendant's 36th arrest with multi-state interaction in California, Virginia, Nevada, and Georgia. Last arrest was in August 29th of 2024 for simple battery in Cobb County, which appears to be open. 2 protective orders are showing from San Francisco, California. No name was listed on there. One is from 2022. One is from 2024. There was a 2023 assault arrest with a deadly weapon and threatened crime with intent to terrorize, 2021 arrest for assault with a deadly weapon and battery on a person. No disposition was listed. 2019 arrest for battery and assault with a deadly weapon, which appeared to be dismissed. A misdemeanor conviction for battery in 2018 and 2020. 2017 felony conviction for vandalism. 2016 arrest for aggravated assault with a firearm and threaten a crime with intent to terrorize. No disposition was listed. 2015 misdemeanor conviction for threatening a crime with intent to terrorize. 2012 conviction for assault and battery out of New Jersey. 2 separate misdemeanor convictions for a violation of a protection order. 2001 arrest for violation of protection order and assault and battery family violence, which appeared to be no price. 2000 arrest for threatening, which appeared to be dismissed, as well as another 2000 arrest for assault and battery, and that was out of Virginia, that appeared to be dismissed. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3 with the exception to the bail restricted charges. Nothing further. And I believe the defendant may have been on the MH list this morning. Nothing further.
All right. Stay. Your Honor, this is my case. This is an incident that occurred yesterday on the 15th at about 11 a.m. A young man named Aaron Marlin, M-A-R-L-I-N, was walking on the sidewalk in the area of Cherry Street and in the downtown area. This is the Georgia Tech campus area. He's a student. He reported that he'd been walking down the street or riding his bike down the street actually when the defendant, Mr. Rainey, came towards him from the opposite direction, also on the sidewalk, shouted at him, "This is my sidewalk," and then knocked him off his bicycle. As the young man got up off his bicycle, off the ground and got his bicycle, the defendant pulled out a handgun, pointed at him, pulled the gun out from his waistband, pointed at him and said, "Pick up your stuff and leave." The young man picked up his bike and fearfully left, went to the quickest location he could get to and made a police report. He provided a description of the defendant. Officers were able to locate the defendant about a mile away from the location. He matched the description of what Mr. Marlin had provided. The warrants state that this is a replica gun that the defendant used. As you know, an aggravated assault and whether or not a gun is a deadly weapon is a jury question, and it's based on the perception of a victim. I did request this case be transferred, but that request was declined. So we have pointing a pistol or a firearm at a person, as well as shoving this young man off of his bicycle. The defendant's criminal history that you did just hear about is substantial, but it also includes recent issues, including an August 19th, 2024 arrest for simple battery in Cobb County. So just less than a month ago, an arrest for an assault on someone. We'd asked for a $10,000 surety, Your Honor. This involves a firearm. It involves being in public, attacking a stranger and threatening them with a firearm. And this is a danger to the public. So we would ask for $10,000 surety, stay away from the location, Georgia Tech, unless you're enrolled as a student. No contact with Aaron Marlin, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
The claim?
Your Honor, my client asked me to request a signature bond, and if not a signature bond, something in the neighborhood of about $1,000 surety bond. I don't have anything local. He is employed. He designs clothing and sells men's clothing, Your Honor.
No, I'm not going to give him a signature bond with his history, multi-state offender. I mean, where does he live? Where is he from? Does he charge him?
The address on his ID is in San Francisco, but I don't know where he lives here.
Okay. Well, I'll give him a $5,000, $10,000 surety bond. And with that surety bond, stay away from Georgia Tech. It's a vast amount of territory around downtown Atlanta. Since we are pretty sure he's not a student at Georgia Tech, you need to stay away from any properties that say they are Georgia Tech. No further contact with the victim, Aaron Marlin. No drugs, alcohol, unprescribed medication, weapons, or guns while on bond.
How much,
That's
how much was the bond?
It was
10,000,
10,000. Thank you, Your Honor.
10,000 surety.
5 and 5?
I'm sorry? Oh, there are two charges. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, 5 and 5, yes. Yep.
Next, we're gonna go to position number 16 with the Anson Smith.
24 CR 006487F. Anson Smith, charged with 1 count of criminal trespass, 2nd count of obstruction.
19th arrest. The last arrest was in 2022 for a probation violation. 2001 misdemeanor conviction for 2 counts of simple battery, family violence, 2 counts of simple assault, willful obstruction, and a felony conviction for terroristic threat out of Douglas County. 2002 felony conviction for criminal damage to property and battery, family violence. 2003 felony conviction for possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. 2004 felony conviction for 2 counts of aggravated assault out of Douglas County. 2016 felony conviction for criminal damage to property and aggravated assault. 2020 misdemeanor conviction for a DUI. 2024 misdemeanor conviction for simple battery. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 2. Nothing further.
Your Honor, this is a case that occurred on the 14th of September at about 7:45 a.m. Police were called to 1845 Piedmont Avenue Northeast. That's the Windsor Morningside Apartments. There they reported that the defendant had returned to the location and was refusing to leave. He'd been previously criminally trespassed on August the 29th of 2024. He was sitting on the steps, and when officers approached and told him he needed to leave, he refused. He argued with officers that there were no signs posted that said no trespassing, and he refused to leave. He became aggressive, and officers had to request backup in order to get him to leave. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, and a stay away from the location, 1845 Piedmont Avenue Northeast. Again, that's the Windsor Morningside Apartments. The defendant's prior criminal history is mostly from Douglas County, not here, although he does have a Fulton conviction from 2002 for felony drugs. His convictions include violence as well as drugs, Your Honor. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we do understand about the previous convictions or previous arrests rather. He does ask the court for a signature bond because it is a 1 count of criminal trespass. He states that he will obey, and he's asking the court to consider the nature of the charge. He will get his mail so he can keep up with court through a mail drop, Your Honor. He does have,
Go ahead.
still does have relatives in Douglasville, but currently he's not living in Douglasville. He's residentially challenged here in Atlanta, so he intends to come to court.
Well, I'm going to give him a $2,000 surety bond, 1,000 on each. Stay away from those Windsor Morningside Apartments, especially since he doesn't live there. And no drugs, alcohol, weapons, guns, or anything while on bond. 2,000 surety, 1,000 each.
Thank you, Your Honor.
next, or is that it?
I think there's a Mr. Snow. But
Oh, 17?
I haven't checked my emails.
Yeah, it's 17, Your Honor. My apologies. I didn't know we were muted.
Okay. Mr. Upshaw, which case are you here for?
I'm here for Ms. Snow.
Oh, finally, we got to you, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Been with us all day.
Right.
Thank you for waiting. Sorry about that.
Yes, ma'am.
24 CR 006488E, Vernon Snow Jr., charged at 1 count of battery, pretrial.
This is the defendant's 13th arrest. The last arrest was in 2023 for an FTA, 2014 felony conviction for 2 counts of robbery, 2013 felony conviction for burglary, first degree, and willful obstruction, 2018 felony conviction for possession of cocaine, 2023 felony conviction for aggravated assault and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The defendant was also arrested for battery family violence, but that was dismissed and that was out of Fulton County. The defendant does meet the criteria for level 3. Nothing further.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on the 14th around noon. Police were called to 2500 Center Street Northwest. The victim in this case, Mrs. Downs, her first name is Aria, A-R-I-A, reported that the defendant is her ex-boyfriend. She was in her car at the location, and the defendant was beating on someone's door. He came over to where she was in her car, reached into the vehicle and grabbed money from inside the door area and refused to give it back to her until he got his sweater. She got out of the car and approached him to get her money back, and he grabbed her by the neck and held her over a banister there at the apartment complex where this is located. Witnesses are reported to have been on scene, but they didn't want to talk to the police about it. The victim, Mrs. Downs, had a visible mark on her neck. She reported that her neck was hurting, and that she would get treatment on her own if she thought she needed it. She did also report that, and I believe the defendant reported that they exchanged the sweater for the money. And he did not make a statement after being Mirandized.
Okay.
We've tried to get in touch with Mrs. Downs. We have not been successful yet today. Maybe she's joining us, I'm not sure. The criminal history for this defendant you just heard about, it does include a felony conviction and a felony conviction with a gun. 3 of them actually that are just disposed since December. So within the last year, he's got 3 new felony convictions, all involving drugs or guns. We'd be asking for a $2,000 surety, and I guess if Mrs. Downs is on Zoom, we can hear from her, but until we hear from a victim, we'd be asking for no contact, Your Honor, and to stay away from wherever she may live. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
And there, Your Honor, he is asking the court to consider a signature bond because of the, it is a single count, but if the court is not inclined towards a signature bond, he would like to ask for a $1,000 surety bond. He works with his sister, and he do work for a locksmith company, and so he is employed. And of course, he's local because it shows that he's been in Atlanta all his life. He was born here, and his brother and sister I was able to reach by phone quite easily. That's everything.
All right, I will order a $2,000 surety bond, and I will order that he stay away from home and work for Aria Downs. No further contact with the victim, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond.
I apologize, Judge. Can you repeat your conditions? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, stay away from her work and home, 200 yards away, wherever she works or lives. no further contact with her, Aria Downs. Because I don't know if we have the addresses, so I'm just gonna say stay away from wherever she works or lives.
The
And,
location of this incident is actually his residence, but yes, that's what we would request. Thank you.
And then the regular, no drugs, alcohol, weapons, or guns while on bond. Mr. Upshaw, you just a friend of Mr. Snow's, is that right?
Yes, it's my brother.
Oh, it's your brother.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. I generally don't allow at this point family to speak unless it's something urgent, that's going to really move me. I doubt it. His history is kind of extensive and not good. So that's why I'm giving him a surety bond
Yes,
and
ma'am.
making sure he stays away from the victim, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you for waiting around.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
I'll get me now.
That it?
I think so.
Think so.
I think so too. Think we have done them all, and you can sign off, Mr. Upshaw.
Okay, have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
You ready, Judge?
Yes, ma'am.
Position number 1 was a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. Position number 2 was a $3,000 good bond, reset SAP, October the 1st. Position number 3 was $2,000 good bond, reset SAP. 4 was a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 5 was a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 6 was a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. 7 was a $4,000 good bond, reset SAP. 8 was a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 9 was a $1,500 good bond, reset SAP. 10 was a $3,500 split bond, 1,000 good on the first charge and 500 SOB jail for the remainder of the charges, reset SAP. 1 second. $11 was reset for tomorrow, SCA calendar. 12 was a $4,000 good bond, reset SAP. 13 was a $5,000 cash bond, reset SAP. 14 was a $4,000 good bond, reset SAP. 15 was a $10,000 good bond, reset SAP. 16, $2,000 good bond, reset SAP. 17 was a $2,000 good bond, reset SAP. On the add-on calendar, position number 1 was a $3,000 good bond, reset SAP. Position number 2 was a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. Position number 3 was null pros, and position number 4 was a $2,000 good bond, reset SAP.
All right. Thank you. Any
On
questions
Mr.
or-
On the medical reset, position number 11.
11? Oh, yes.
What is that a Riverside issue?
That's not, I'm not, no, that won't be. I'll get down there as early as I can. If I can get him to waive or get information that I
You
can.
need
I
a,
can
you
forward
need a
to.
signature or us to join you for a evaluation request. We will absolutely do that. Please let us
Fine.
know.
Thank you.
Yeah, on Saturday, he was refusing to speak to y'all and wouldn't come out or anything.
I have behavior, not medical. I thought it was,
Oh, behavior.
that's what it was Saturday, was behavior.
Okay, that's whatever the term, I'm not.
No, I was just stating,
Sure.
I just wanted to be on the record that that's not what it was Saturday, so I just wanted to
Okay.
state it. See, thank you.
Sure, thank you.